Welcome to Candid Conversations with Rennu Dhillon, a Building Women Empowered initiative, empowering women everywhere. Every woman has a unique life experience to share. They could be personal or professional. Share your story on our show. Find your voice and inspire others to find their voice too. Through these personal stories, which are unfiltered and uncensored, straight from the heart, women will empower other women to make incredible things happen. Marilyn Monroe said, "Give a girl the right shoes and she can conquer the world." I say when women find their voice, they will conquer anything and everything. Candid Conversations is a vlog showcasing progressive women and their empowering life stories who are making a difference every day. Our guest on today's show is Sonya Pelia, and she's going to talk about her journey as a trailblazer. Sonya Pelia is a B2B SaaS CMO with expertise in driving revenue, product-led growth, marketing strategy, brand and thought leadership. She's the co-founder and COO of Monarch Mavens, a startup consulting firm propelling founding teams of early stages B2B SaaS startups to rev up revenue while reducing risk and raising resilience. She's a founding LP at How Women Invest VC Fund, a nonprofit leader, and a TEDx speaker. Sonya mentors founders at Alchemist Accelerator and is advisor to startups OneTap and doctors under the radar. Are you ready to be empowered? Let's begin the show. Well, welcome, Sonya. Welcome to our show. And this is actually my very first vlog, Candid Conversations. And you've already been on my other shows before. So thank you so much for agreeing to come back on this show and launching this as we go for the first time on social media. So thank you so much.
Can I say, Rennu, you've really honored me by being the first on this show. I'm such a fan of yours, and I'm so happy if I can share anything valuable with your amazing community that you're building.
Thank you. Thank you. And I made myself a promise that, I set this recording 2 weeks ago, but I made myself a promise that when we hit 1,000 members, then I would put that show out. And today at 5:30, we actually hit 1,000 members. So I'm going to have to get the show ready tonight and put it out there tomorrow. But thank you so much.
You can do it, Rennu. I've noticed this, that anything you put your mind to it, I've noticed that you get it done.
But thank you. So my first question to you is, as every woman wants to know the story. So everybody wants to know, who is Sonya, and where did Sonya grow up? And is Sonya where she thought she was going to be? What were her dreams when she was a little girl and where she is now? So let's talk about where were you born and a little about your life story.
So I was born in India. My dad was an army officer. He was a lawyer in the Indian Army. And both my parents come from army families. So my grandfather, one of my great-grandfathers, and my other grandfathers, everyone army, Punjabi, Sikh,
Lot of discipline.
Yes, a lot of discipline, lot of hardcore army business, right? So I grew up, I was born in Kangra, Himachal Pradesh. And then my father was very inspired by the Chinese invasion of India. And he was actually a tehsildar. He was a lawyer and he was a tehsildar. And he said he needed to be there for his country. And so he joined the army. And so he grew up all over India. And my mother grew up all over India, and so did I. And I grew up in a country which was very different than it is today. Let me just say that. Of course, there was no computers, there was no internet. We moved from area to area. The army had a super privileged lifestyle. But here's the kicker. My father was a fierce feminist, which is so unusual for a Sardar man and an army officer. Obviously, it is only in retrospect I've realized all of this. My parents wanted me to be super successful. And in India, when I grew up, you could be a doctor, an engineer, and then if you failed at both, you could be a teacher. I know this is so judgmental, but this is the truth.
Oh dear. Well, then I'm in the teaching profession.
No, but it was so wrong.
Yes, it was. My choices were doctor, engineer, or an accountant.
But Rennu, the thing is, the teacher is the most valuable out of all of these. I'm so sorry to say this.
Absolutely.
You are actually educating the future of this world.
Yes.
My mother was a teacher. My mother wanted to be a doctor, and her father said women could not be doctors. Okay. And so she became a teacher. And can I say this to you? Just a side note, I know we have a very short time. My mother's 82 years old. She's on Facebook. She has an iPad. She has an iPhone 8 or 12 or something like this. Okay. People that she taught 30 years ago find her on Facebook and say, ma'am, I was your student in year so and so in third grade. Can you be friends with me on Facebook? That is how influential my mother was in her 30-year teaching career.
And I can relate to that, Sonya, because I'm at 61. I have kids that I taught when they were 2 and 3 who find me on social media, and then they find where my office is and they come and meet with me. And I cannot tell you that feeling of gratification. I'm sure your mom feels the same way when students look for you.
She has 2,000 friends on Facebook. Her teachers' children have contacted her. Her students. My point to you is, Rennu, have you and my mother made more difference in the world than a doctor and an engineer?
No, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
So you opted for not a doctor?
No, I tried. I tried for medicine twice. In India, okay, I'm not excusing my own personal failure, but in India, the numbers are so enormous. I didn't succeed. So I came to the US I was really lost because I got so fed up, and I did a degree in English honors, psychology and economics. And then I met somebody here who was doing technical writing. And she said, why don't you try it? And so I went to San Jose State and I saw a computer and I was like, what is this? Okay, I'm talking about 1986. I'm talking about February 1986. That's a very long time for most people. And I was like, okay, this is my first love now. So I became a technical writer, and I worked at really large companies. I worked at startups. I worked at small companies. I loved it. I loved the whole precision of it. I loved computers. There was no internet still in those days, right? And that was my first career. And I've been 5 years into this career, and I realized that the Silicon Valley is just like this. I don't know if you watch Star Trek. I'm a huge Star Trek fan, okay? And, in Star Trek, you can go and take a vacation in a holodeck and you can make any fantasy come true. And then one day I was driving. I'm not kidding you. I was working at Cisco, and I was driving down this thing, the street, Lick Mill Road. And, a month ago I'd driven and there was just orchards there. And then the next month I drove and there were these glass buildings and Cisco building number H, G, H, whatever. And I realized this is so fake, right? We have these super privileged lives. And there's no reality. We have wealth, and we have, beautiful existence in this first world country. And I didn't realize I had an existential crisis then. And I said, what is the purpose of my life? And so in my hubris as a 30-year-old, I thought, oh, you know what? I should go and help other people. And, they say when you think you need something, the universe will deliver it. And I'm an atheist, but can I just say the universe delivered? I read an article saying there was this organization called Maitri, and they needed people who spoke Punjabi and Hindi. Okay, so granted, my Punjabi was very anglicized. And I said, wait, somebody here needs a language that I learned when I was 16 because my parents didn't speak to us in Punjabi. We were the anglicized Indians. And so I called them up, and they called me back and said, come to the meeting. And Maitri was 2 years old. And Maitri, for people who don't know, we empower South Asian survivors of familial violence here in the Bay Area. And I went to the meeting and I met my tribe. And that was 28 and a half years ago. And so then I ran dual tracks in my life. So I was the techie, I worked in tech, and then I had Maitri.
That's how I met you.
Exactly. At that movie.
Yes.
Petals in the Dust.
Petals in the Dust, yes.
Right.
Yes. Thank you, Naina.
And you know what? Rennu, I myself became a passionate feminist when I was age 14. And it really riles me up. It really makes me very upset that people don't get equality because they don't have knowledge or information, right? And people use the systems against people who are underprivileged. And so I joined Maitri, and I became the general secretary, and then I was the board president for 21 years. And I had a tech career which was very passionate. I love tech. Don't get me wrong. I think tech has been amazing in my life. But, in tech is where I've struggled. So I was a technical writer. I ran tech pubs. I ran large teams. I ran small teams. I went to startups. And I realized, your career only has a finite length. And the problem is nobody tells you, how do you move from this career to that career? Mm. And I tried twice. I was fed up. And one day I woke up and I told my husband that if I have to manage another technical publications team for another week, I'm going to chew my arm off and kill myself. Okay. And he was like, what's wrong with you? And so he said, why don't you quit? So I quit. And, like you and like many other women, I'm very driven by my personal success. And a month later, I found another job in technical publications because I couldn't figure out how can I transition to another career. Right. So the second time I did this, this was pre-internet. I just want to be very clear with people. Now we have options, and if you are not using the options, that's really wrong. Right. So I hired a career coach, but the problem I realized was that the career coach and I were not synced together, and I didn't know about chemistry between the coach and the clientee and whatever. So anyways, I didn't work. I went back to technical writing, and then I decided I was going to apply for any possible job, and I fell into marketing. I just applied, and so that was my third career. Because I had already made 3. I'd done a startup which failed, by the way. In the middle of this, I did a startup also. And then when I did marketing one day, and this is where my epiphany about mentoring and coaching came. Mm-hmm. So, I was listening to the VP of this company I worked at. She was on the stage. I was a marketing manager, corporate marketing manager. And I was looking at her and I said, what she does, I could do better than her. I know this is a moment of hubris. And then I thought, what? How come nobody's helped me? Nobody's helped me figure out that I could have a path. And I decided 2 things that day. I still remember that conference. I still remember all of this. And I said, number 1, I'm going to be a CMO, Chief Marketing Officer. I didn't know the word then, but I said I'll head marketing. And the second thing I said, I want to help other women. And I think that for me, like what you are doing, honestly, I feel personally that it's not just my personal success that is important. It's what can I help other women achieve? Absolutely. Right? Don't you feel gratified that, you've done this amazing, you've done this amazing franchise and you give it to other women to succeed. So it's not just you succeeding, but you're bringing other people with you. So I made this conscious decision. And then, anyways, I went back into tech. I was in this very old-fashioned company. I went into tech and I started offering women. And, I was very I said, are you struggling? Do you need help? I'm happy to help you. So you become like a mentor or a coach now. Absolutely. But I wasn't a coach. Okay. So I didn't realize this piece now. Mm-hmm. So when the pandemic hit my job, actually, I was a CMO at a startup and my job was one of the casualties. I usually do about 4 or 5 women I mentor a year. That year, the 2020, I mentored 67 women. Wonderful. Wow. And I said to myself, I'm privileged. I have a house. My husband's working. I have a mortgage, which is being taken care of. But you've got to stand up for your principles at some point, right? So I mentored so many women, and I've realized that most of us are, number 1, we don't believe in our own abilities. We don't realize how fabulous and powerful we really are. Number 2, we are hesitant about asking for help. And men don't. So these are all the things men do. Right. Yes. Men will know 10% of something and they'll say, I'm an expert. Women need to know 150% before they'll acknowledge that they can maybe talk about this, right? And I kind of talk about in my blogs. I think it's that fear of the unknown sometimes. Women, they know they can do it,
But you just think, what if? We can start thinking and questioning our own ability.
It's the imposter syndrome.
Yes. Yes.
It's also the idea that we need to be perfect, right? And we need to work harder. And, I'm not disagreeing with those things, but I'm just saying be acknowledging of your success. And then the third thing I realized that when I started mentoring outside marketing or outside, nonprofit, I realized that we don't invest enough in ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, you're a thought leader. You've written a very, best-selling book. You've done this franchise, all of this, but you bootstrapped yourself into this thing because you're driven by this passion, right? But what happens to women who have not even discovered what they're passionate about? And so last year, when I've started a startup with a friend, a colleague, and we are empowering women startup founders.
Wonderful. Okay.
Because men have so much help again, and then women don't have enough help.
Right.
But my insight is that, number one, invest in yourself. You're taking a class, getting a personal a career coach or a relationship coach or a family, whatever you're struggling, getting time to yourself. These are things you're going to invest in yourself to make yourself at the right place at the right time for the opportunity. When it comes, you will take it. So what happens when you get an opportunity where you're not ready? You're going to say, oh, I'm not ready, and maybe in 2 years, 5 years. But what if you were investing in yourself all along? And that's the value of mentorship and coaching. And I find so many South Asian women being martyrs, right? No, my children are so small. My children need me. Well, I have a daughter. She's 21. She goes to school in Scotland, by the way. She got a 4-year degree she's doing there. Can I tell you, Rennu, Desi people ask me, why did you let her go to Scotland? And they don't remember.
Why did you keep her near you?
Yeah, they don't remember they came from South Asia here, right?
Right.
And then they tell me, well, she's doing honors in linguistics and philosophy. And they're like, what kind of job will she get? And I said, I don't know. She didn't ask me.
She'll find her own path.
Exactly.
Yes.
My point is that when you started out and you went to pharmacy school in the UK and then you came here and you did all of this stuff, did you ever imagine that you'd be this hugely successful person doing a franchise?
Well, I don't know about the hugely part, but I do know that, it was, now if I turn the clock back, I wish I had pursued what I was good at, which is, using my voice to talk to people. Instead, I was put into a pharmacy because I was good at science, but pharmacy is not where I belonged. I didn't want to be, packing pills in bottles. That wasn't my scene at all. So the first opportunity I got to get out, I did.
And my point is that, I don't know if I've been a great doctor, right? But I am a very I'm a marketer. I'm a very strategic marketer. I'm very creative in thinking. Yeah. I need that. I have very easily bored, by the way. I have an attention span of a gnat. So I have to be always stimulated at work.
That makes you and I both. Yes.
So, being a doctor, I would have been impatient and said, do blah, 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 blah. No, don't talk to me again. I've got a list for you. My point, that's facetious. Okay. I really I have a lot of doctors in my family who are passionate and doing amazing things. I don't know I would have been a good doctor at all. I know I wouldn't have been a good doctor. But there was no mentoring there, no coaching there. Now we have the opportunity. And to me, the challenge is that I still meet women, South Asian women in particular, who are not investing in themselves. Mm-hmm. And, the question is that to you and I and the group who are listening to us, that focus on yourself. It's not selfishness. When you're in a plane, they tell you when the oxygen mask drops, you put it first on your mouth and then you put it on other people.
Correct.
The thing is, if you in your career are not happy, you yourself are not investing, what kind of role model are you giving your children? And I'm not talking about daughters. I'm talking about sons and daughters and your spouse, right? Yes. So the question is that how can we encourage women to consider that investing in yourself by mentoring or coaching or even being a part of this community. Step one, being a part of this community.
And I think another thing, Sonya, what happens is women, especially our South Asian women, right? We are all told, we're kind of not taught that you can balance your career and your family life. So women come in, get married, have the family, and they're the ones that are expected to sacrifice. And then the women says, well, when they go to college, I'll find myself. And then that really never happens, because after college,
thank you for saying this. Yeah. Rennu, I'm so glad you said this. At Maitri, we get so many women who come to volunteer after their children have left for college. Yes. How long do you think they last? Not even a month. Okay. Yeah. I meet so many women who say, I'll restart my career. Do you think it's possible to restart your career after a 15-year break?
Very difficult. I mean, it's possible, right now, very difficult. Yeah.
Right now, I do 4 things, and I'm juggling them all.
Yeah.
But, it's a muscle.
Yes.
It's nothing about ability. I want to really be honest that you and I are not unique in all that what we are succeeding at. It's a muscle we've developed by practicing. Right. You add another thing to your plate, but you do it in a way that's elegant, seamless. You do it in a way that's really expanding, right?
So, Sonya, one of the things that comes up, and when I meet women is, and especially women that have gone through, unfortunately, domestic violence, and, we've been with Maitri, and just women that sometimes are maybe not married or had not had a successful marriage, they feel that they don't know how to start. And I strongly believe in life coaches and relationship coaches. I believe in going to the expert for help. Even when I went through my own divorce, I went to get help. I went for therapy, because you need that. You need some neutral person to tell you. Family is great, but you go to family and says,
what is family going to say? What is family going to say, Rennu?
Why are you changing your career? Stick with what you've done at school. Right.
Buck up. Buck up is another Punjabi word, like pull your socks up and buck up, right?
Yeah.
But what you're saying is that, if you have trauma, you should see a therapist. There's no shame in it.
Yes.
I've been to therapy for challenges that I've had in my life. Mm-hmm. It helps you resolve so you're not stuck in the past. I've had coaches who are pro bono, who've helped me in my career as a CMO, as a chief marketing officer in startups. The point is, what you're saying is that we have access. And what stops us from getting this help? It shouldn't be our ego, because there can be somebody who can help us discover our own answers, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So really quickly, now you've started your own company, which is a startup helping other female entrepreneurs and stuff. For women out there who are still struggling to find their path, what would be, and they're probably looking and saying, it doesn't look like Sonya ever had an obstacle in her life. Sitting and listening to you, nobody would think that, right? If you could explain or give an example of how you overcame that one obstacle, whatever it is, and what would your message be to all the women out there? How could they empower themselves? Because women think empowerment is just becoming the head of a company and making lots of money. And to me, that's not empowerment.
No. Making money, if that's your goal, that's not empowerment.
Yes.
There's many people who've made trillions of dollars, and more power to you if you decide to do that. You have to figure this out. To me, empowerment is living the best life I can, being engaged and excited at every day of my life. I wake up in the morning and come down to my home office and say, okay, what am I going to do today? Okay. And the third thing is to help other people. To me, that's empowerment. Mm-hmm. And, in the end, it's persistence. You get up, you have a day that's really rotten. You have a CEO who tells you random garbage.
Right.
You get up and you say, it's not about you. You are on a trajectory. You have to have a mission. You have to have a vision. Yeah. And most people don't have a vision. And I'm only speaking to people who want to be value-led, who want to be changing the world, who feel that their contribution to the world is something that changes the world. Having oodles of money doesn't change the world. You can give it all away. It still doesn't change the world. I'm going to tell you. You change people one person at a time.
One person at a time, correct.
There's been times I've been so depressed and I've said, I've had a really hard client at Maitri and I've said, why am I doing this? I've woken up in the middle of the night and said, I don't know, am I doing any good here? And then I got up in the morning and I said, I'm committed to the mission of empowering South Asian survivors, and I need to follow through that. Once I decided about 13 years ago, I decided I was only going to do startups. I was doing startups also in my previous careers, but I decided in marketing I was only going to do startups. There's no money in them. I've been through so many startups, and let me just tell you. But the thing is, there's been opportunities for me to join a really large company and make 3 times what I make. And I was just telling my husband this on the dinner table, and he said, can you please take the startup, because I can't bear to hear you complaining about the big company every single night. But I think you have to be clear why you do what you do. That's what most people are so, in Punjabi we say bhed chal, which means that everyone's following everyone else. This person has got so much money. You yourself are very successful. I know you're very modest, Rennu, but I'm just saying to you, people will see and say, well, Rennu has all this, but they don't know what your journey and your struggles were. So, ask people this, reach out. Last year.
Don't be ashamed to ask for help.
Don't be ashamed. Last year, this young woman reached out to me, and I said, yeah, of course, I'll help you, South Asian woman. She said, after many months of helping her, coaching her, I was coaching her basically. And she said to me, I reached out to 20 women. You're the only person who said yes. And the point is, I'm trying to make is that if you don't reach out for help, and sometimes people will not give it, or they have no time, or they won't, but you will find the right person if you ask for help.
Absolutely. But Sonya, I could go on and on and on talking to you. So let me ask you, in closing, one message you would want to give out to all the women listening, because our goal of this show is to empower women everywhere.
Never give up. Ever.
Yes. Yeah. And I know you're available on LinkedIn. People can find you on LinkedIn. So can I tell our listeners that if anyone needs to reach out to you to find you on LinkedIn and contact
Absolutely, Sonya Pelia, which is Sonya and Pelia, and there's only one Sonya Pelia because my father decided to spell our last name differently than all the other Pelias. So I'm the only Sonya Pelia in the world. Reach out on LinkedIn, but do tell me, just don't say I want to connect with you. Tell me if you need help.
Correct.
Because I get 55 requests like you do, Rennu.
Like be specific.
Very specific. Yeah. So I really want to help you. I want to make your time and my time valuable. Right. But yes, reach out, please. And I'm happy to share my own lessons so you don't make at least those mistakes. Make some other mistakes, please.
So I'm going to put one more thing you have to do on your plate. Don't forget to write the book.
I have to say that book is like been suspended since the startup. But I'm feeling so guilty because 3 people in my group. Okay, here's the competitive spirit. 3 people in the 9 people cohort are in their final drafts. I'm still on my first draft.
No, you'll get there. So
I'll get there. You are an inspiration to me, Rennu, so I'm going to get there.
Thank you so much for being on the show. And I'm so excited that I'm going to have to get the show ready and have it out there tomorrow because we did hit that 1,000 today. So thank you, Sonya. Thank you always for your support.
Thank you. And congratulations, Rennu. I'm always impressed by you. Always.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Now that you've met Sonya, I'm sure you're as motivated and driven as I'm feeling right now. Remember, your network is your net worth. That's right. Your network is your net worth. And the more people you listen to and meet, the more you will grow. So if you have a story to share, whether it's personal or professional, something you have done or something you would want the world to know, then you need to reach out to me, and I would love to have you on Candid Conversations with Rennu Dhillon. We welcome your suggestions and your referrals. Today, I'm going to leave you with this thought. You are the artist of your own canvas, so do not hand that paintbrush to anyone else. Until next week, remember, communication is the oxygen of relationships. So let's empower women everywhere. Thank you. Until next time.